I think home to me is a place that you're always welcome, where you can walk in the door and not much has changed. Even if the physical aspects have changed, relationships don't change, or yeah, there's always an openness to it.
I'm like 28 years old right now, and I've probably lived in over 20 different places. No place more than ever 2 or 3 years. You know, I grew up moving from house to house: Eggleston, Normal, Emerald, Union, Harvard, Princeton, Yale. Growing up in Roseland, it was just easy to see a lot of brokenness in the community, in the school, even in the household. You know, just broken families, right? When everything around you is broken, it's hard to even know what would it look like if it wasn't, right? Because everything's broken, right? What does it look like if our school system changed? What does it look like if, you know, for a husband and wife to love each other? What does it look like to grow up in one home, you know, and be with your parents? You know, what does that look like? That's foreign that was foreign to me. That was probably foreign to most of my friends that grew up in Roseland. And brokenness was definitely a big theme.
What I feel like when I think about Wade and his family at this point, and Wade even was a single, I think about the journey of legacy, the reality of investing in people's lives and seeing one-on-one or one life at a time transformation.
Well, I came to Chicago and joined the ministry. My initial role was to reach out to teenagers, and so started volunteering at a couple different high schools in the band programs, the music programs. And Wade was one of the first guys that I met. I remember he was in the percussion section. And we connected initially, and it was really through some friends that kind of convinced him to come and check out our community center.
The first time I saw the Agape Center, I don't think I was even in high school. I was a little kid. And it's this gray slate of a building next to these train tracks. And so I run into this building again in high school with a friend. His name's Clarence. And he said he'd go to the Agape Center. And so I went in, and I was really surprised that, you know, the place was warm. And it was nothing like what it looked like on the outside. It had a gym. It had all these volunteers in there. And somebody that I had seen, Brad Harry, who I had met in my band class, who was volunteering.
Wade came to our ministry through the high school ministry, and particularly as Brad was volunteering, he experienced what we wanted him to experience. That's the sense that he belonged, that he was a part of this family.
It was like the only place where I wasn't experiencing that conditional love that I spoke of before. It was unconditional love. It was you know, leaders there that were willing to invest with me, to spend time with me and my friends and hear about my life. They just wanted to know me, and I just felt like that was so powerful at that time where I'm wrestling, you know, with this question of identity.
And that was my heart for Wade from the beginning, you know, was to see him figure out who he was in Jesus, figure out his identity, that God loves him like crazy.
At one point, Wade obviously made a decision to begin to follow Christ, to begin to experience what we call a real koinonia, a real fellowship.
He just really became rooted in understanding that he's a son of God, he's loved like crazy, and that became a strength for him. He was able to engage really maturely in other parts of his life because of his spiritual foundation.
I actually prayed. I said, God, I just put somebody in my life to show me what the Christian walk looked like. I feel like I don't want to judge you for what I've experienced. And like the next day, Brad Harry like invited me to this other Bible study he had. It was there. He shared the gospel there that night. And I went home and made the decision like that I wanted to follow Christ.
Wade has, I think for me, it's just his maturity level has just gone through the roof. When he was 20 years old or so, he was still trying to figure out college, trying to get a job, and now he has a dad, he's a husband, he works full-time with our ministry. It's just so amazing to see how he has grown.
I'm grateful that Wade is continuing the legacy of our ministry. It's been like almost 40 years of kind of passing on what it looks like to follow Jesus in this context, in this challenging context, and Wade has embraced it. Wade came up in the area, just like Milton, and God has transformed his life.
When Wade came to know Christ in that age, he got a chance to begin to really experience the hope of life, and the hope of a life that would actually have meaning, would have purpose, and would be adventurous for his lifetime into eternity.
All these things would have never happened if it wasn't for people like Brad, like Milton, really working together with me to create those options. I think it says something to have men of character in the community that are living out the gospel and not just keeping it to themselves, but sharing that with the next generation. And so I'm so grateful. There's kids under me that are looking at me, and so what legacy am I going to leave, you know, as a leader, as a kid, you know, as a young man that's grown into adulthood? You know, what legacy am I shaping at the kids that are watching me?